one of the things that is also non-negotiable when you're hosting a retreat is understanding what solution you're providing. Like, what is
Yes.
the purpose of your retreat? So actually, that's the first thing you really want to consider. It's like, why would people invest their money into an experience like this? What is the solution that you're providing? And being really clear, because one thing that I think I honestly could have done better in my retreat, I always teach on what I didn't do. I teach that to my clients as well. What I could have done better is be more explicit about, what it exactly was, the retreat, like what was the retreat for?
If you are new to this channel, please support us by subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the bell. We publish 3 times a week, incredible tutorials, interviews, strategies, and all sorts of things to help you to grow your business. Hello and welcome to Natalie Levy is in the house. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. I really love what your business stands for. Natalie Knows. I picked that up from your website. So I want Natalie to just quickly just do your own intro, because I feel that you're a badass woman. So do your own intro so that people know exactly who you are, who you serve, and what you do.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Natalie, and I am a coach for women and people who really want to create good in the world and do it on their own terms by launching businesses. And so typically the people that I work with fall into the category of like healer, teacher, just paradigm shifters, I like to say, people who are here to create something new and really leave a lasting impact on the world. And I do that through helping them get started, but then also working with people in launching and scaling their businesses.
I love that. I love that. That's why when I got onto your website, I was like, okay, she's my kind of woman. Let's get talking. Which is awesome. So before you started doing that, Natalie, what did you do, or what inspired you to work with this group of people and helping them with their office?
That is a very long story that I will try and keep very succinct. But I, in summary, discovered early on, like in my teenage years, that I wanted to work with people. But I thought as a clinical psychologist, like I was on a path to becoming a clinical psychologist up until, let's say, 2015. That's what I thought I was going to be doing. And it was really because I had gone through a very difficult time. I had actually lost my mother. And so that put me on this path of like um, a long time of really rediscovering myself, moving through that grief and those emotions. And then realizing in that period that I actually really enjoyed working with other people, and I wanted other people to feel really good. Like, I'm like, I know how terrible this feels to be this despondent and like this sort of loss. And I want people to like love their lives, because something in me, even at that point, knew that life was really meant to be lived. And especially at seeing my mom fight so hard, I was like, there's something about this. Life is meant to be good as long as you're here, because you might not be here as long as you think. And so, yeah, that put me on that path. And then, long story short, I realized when I was in grad school that that probably wasn't what I wanted to do with my time, but I still really wanted to serve people. I still really wanted to work with people, but I myself had always wanted to be a businesswoman. Like, even when I pictured myself as a psychologist, like I thought I'd have my own office and my own, everything. Um, and so that was like, that's how I really got started.
Yeah, thank you so much for being so open and sharing. I'm so sorry to hear about your mum. When I read it, literally my heart sank. When I read that on your website, read your story. But thank you so much. I want to find out from you, how did you, at such a young age, pick yourself up to just decide that I'm going to keep going? Like, what was that journey that made you just go, I'm going to keep going? This really terrible thing has happened. Not only am I going to keep going, but I'm going to help people who are going through a similar thing to me. How do you do it?
That is a question I've been asked before, and I don't really know that I have an answer. But I think in part it was one of those, you end up getting into survival, right? And so it was sort of a non-negotiable. in my
Yeah.
household especially. My father was very much of the mind, and maybe too much, but it was the best he could do at the time, of life must go on and you just keep going. And so I adopted that. And also, again, like seeing my mom be like so committed to like her healing, so she's just fighting so hard. I
Yeah.
realized that like it would just honestly be a disservice to my mother even to not really fully live out my purpose and what I was really dreaming of doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that that was a real driving motivator, was honoring my mom, and
Yeah.
honoring what she would have done and what she would want. And just you put one foot in front of the other. And I was an emotional wrecking ball. So my MySpace said something to the effect of like, I need people and I need people to need me. And like, I want to work with, I want to help people who are emotional wrecking balls, just like me, like, you know, so emo. But that was my motivator at the time.
Right. And you know what? Sometimes when we're going through stuff, you find whatever it is that motivates you in that time and you run with it. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. As long as it keeps you moving forward. It's only when we look back and then we can go, oh, I could have made better decisions. But do you know what? The decision you did make saved you. It kept you going and it helped you to become the amazing woman that you are today. So moving forward into Natalie, the coach, right? I remember speaking to you just before we started recording, and one of the things that you talked about is multi-touch offers that you help your clients to create. Can you just explain what that means for us? What is a multi-touch offer?
Sure. It's just basically an offer where you work with more than one person at a time and you serve more than one person at a time, like in a
Okay,
group setting.
like in a group setting, wonderful. And so, what would you say is the importance of that? So, a lot of people who are first starting out, they truly believe that you should work one on one with people. But am I getting it that you teach? No, actually, don't do one on one. Go to group. Is that what you teach, or?
No, I meet my clients where they're at, and some of my clients are better suited for running with a one-on-one offer. Some of them are more interested in group, and so the old coaching paradigm would have you believe that you have to start with one-on-one, and that's the only way, and that's the holy grail to wealth. Um, and that could be the case for some people, but it's certainly not the case for all people. I definitely started with one-on-one, and then I realized that that was not a scalable business model. So and also I really enjoy groups. To answer your question about like what's the benefit, there's so much power that can be had, that can be created through group experiences, like the mutual motivation and affirmation and validation and all the things that happen in a group setting. Um, yeah, that's why I love them so much.
Yeah, I describe group as it's like, when an athlete is trying to run a race, right? If they were running by themselves, the chances of them going, oh, I have a pinch, at the back of my knee, I'm just going to stop, is much higher than if you're running that race and you see girl number one and girl number seven or whatever, they are a little bit ahead and somebody's a little bit behind, and you're just motivated because now you've got other people who are running alongside you. So I'm a big believer in groups and I absolutely love it. Now, when it comes to creating a group program, we all do it in different ways, and there are different types of group programs. What are some of the types of group programs that you have either executed in your business that has allowed you to wake up wealthier, or that you have helped other clients to create?
Yeah, so one thing that I've created that I really love and I can't wait to do again is a group retreat. And so I did that earlier this year. I'm actually inviting a couple of my clients. It was a bonus of one of the masterminds that I hosted this year, that they come and have like a graduation retreat experience. So that's happening in
Wow.
December. I'm really excited about that. I also host a group experience for people who are just starting out. So either just starting out, haven't gotten their first clients, or have gotten some clients, but still not sure how, like not sure how that's happening and don't know how to recreate that result. And then this year I started a mastermind, which didn't have as much focus on curriculum, but was more like hot seat coaching. You come in as a group, we collectively give you some insight and some support in how to move forward.
Yeah,
And
I
that was
love that.
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of the mastermind. We run a mastermind group programs, wonderful, but retreats is one
Yeah.
that we haven't yet run. So I want to learn all about retreats. So let's talk a little bit more. First of all, how do you go about planning a retreat? What are, perhaps 3 to 5 key steps that you can share when it comes to planning a successful retreat for your business?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to have an understanding of what your revenue goals are. And not only a revenue goal, but like your profit goal. Because sometimes I've actually supported a couple of clients now in putting together their own retreats, and they just like think of a number that they think their clients are going to want, like be able to invest. And it's like, but what are your expenses? You can't just like come up with a number and say, oh, this retreat's going to be $1,000 or it's going to be $2,000 without a real understanding, at least of the basic, like the foundational things that you're going to be expensing. And so understanding what your goals are, understanding what your revenue goal is, what your profit goal is, how many people will that require based on the number that you're envisioning in terms of pricing your retreat at. And then you want to go about like really making calculations. So you probably create some sort of spreadsheet that has like what's the cost of your Airbnb, retreat center, whichever route you choose to go. If you're not doing a retreat center and you're going to be responsible for the food, you're going to have to figure out like, okay, well, what's my menu going to look like more or less, so that I can figure out like cost structure of the groceries. You're going to have to factor in transportation. You're going to have to understand, is everything all included? If so, like what activities are you including? What are the costs per person? You know, all of these things, and it's going to look different depending on length of the retreat, where you host your retreat, what the menu is going to look like. So there are nuances, of course, but that would be my recommendation. And then, yeah, and then you have a better understanding of cost versus profit and whatnot.
Absolutely. So I'm getting, have your revenue goal versus profit goal, know the number of people that you want there, and of course, really get, be hot on your expenses, even like the littlest, most minute things that you're going to need to think about, and be really good on that and toss everything together before even making that decision. May I ask you, Natalie, what is the benefit of a retreat? Why, would a business person choose to have this in their business model?
Yeah. And actually, one of the things that is also non-negotiable when you're hosting a retreat is understanding what solution you're providing. Like, what is
Yes.
the purpose of your retreat? So, actually, that's the first thing you really want to consider. It's like, why would people invest their money into an experience like this? What is the solution that you're providing? And being really clear, because one thing that I think I honestly could have done better in my retreat, I always teach on what I didn't do. I teach that to my clients as well. What I could have done better is be more explicit about, what it exactly was, the retreat, like what was the retreat for? Because I think a lot of times people are looking for an outcome. So like a fitness retreat, like that you're going to experience like these fitness classes, and you're going to do XYZ fitness classes a day, and like what is the goal, blah, blah, blah. Or like if you're going on a yoga retreat, like that you're going to be doing yoga every single day, and yoga is the purpose. And
Yes.
my retreat was more of a collaborative experience to create magic and like manifest what you're really dreaming of.
Yeah.
And and yeah, and so as a business person, the benefit I think is multifold. I think on one hand, if you thrive in group settings and group experiences, like you'll have a kick-ass time. And
Yeah.
I'm a big firm believer in enjoying what you do. I
Yes.
think if done right, hosting retreats can really be an awesome added revenue stream.
Mhm.
Um, it could bring retreats alone could bring in 6 figures if you do like a quarterly retreat, or depending on how you price it, if you just do a few retreats a year. Um, and I think also they're a great like jump off point for certain people, or like either people can funnel through your retreat, like they come on your retreat and they have this amazing experience, they choose to work with you
Yeah.
in the future, or on the flip side, they've worked with you, they love your time together, and they want something to really further solidify that relationship, and so they have a retreat experience to come to.
Hmm. Mhm. I love that. Absolutely. And, just as you were talking about, just before you started talking about making money from the retreat and how it can grow your business, that was going to be my follow up question, because it is an absolute kick ass business model. We did plan to put together a retreat just before the pandemic. And ever since then, we hadn't put it back on the table, and there is definitely this block. And I think that one of the biggest questions that people have that holds them back from creating a retreat is a combination of, will people actually fly out? Will they pay for this? And is it something people want? How would you overcome that sort of question, Natalie?
It's a great question. And people ask me that question too, because I had never hosted a retreat before. It's not that my audience was particularly primed to go on a retreat either. That wasn't what they had come to me for in the first place. And someone did ask me, like, early days, like, well, what if it doesn't work? And I looked at her and I was like, that is like not an option. Like, I had already, and honestly, like, I had invested probably $4,000 already prior to ever having seen any money from the retreat. Like, I invested in a sales page. I had a down payment for the retreat center. And that alone was that investment. And I had to be okay with, if it didn't work, just figuring it out and not letting the fear of people not coming stop me from trying, because I was really never going to know if I could pull it off until I tried it. So just being okay with it.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. It's like, what if it doesn't work? But what if it does work?
Yes.
Yeah.
My motto in life.
Yeah, exactly. And, speaking of, I love, just hearing about your retreat and, the fact that you started with maybe $4,000 down payment. What would you say to somebody who is just starting out? What size of retreat should they be thinking? Because it's not hundreds of people. And sometimes
Right.
it's not even dozens of people. What would you say is it's your first retreat. Here is a goal for your first retreat.
Um, it's hard to say because I really do feel like it's nuanced. Personally, my goal was 10. Like, that was my safe goal. My stretch goal was probably around 12, and I think at the end there was like 9 of us. So it was actually smaller than I anticipated, and that was okay. I also knew for my first one that it was going to be a starting point. And this is what I want people to get more comfortable with too.
Yeah.
Understanding, like, first you do the thing and then people get warmed up to the idea of you doing that thing. And then your second time around is going to be
Yeah.
much simpler. And I knew that. So I was like, even if I break even on this retreat, this is something that I anticipate wanting to do
Yeah.
many times over. So I'm going to start, I'm going to have amazing marketing materials that are going to come from it. I'm going to have the experience. I'm going to learn. And next time it's going to be easier to fill. And I can say that certainly because, like, I have a client currently who is hosting these 2-day retreats, like these camping type retreats. And the first one, filled it by, like, just made it happen.
Yeah.
Still was profitable, which I was like really, happy about. And now they're hosting another retreat in January and they already have 2 spots full. And
Oh, wow.
they posted a reel,
Oh,
and so
wow.
it's just like
Yeah.
understanding that
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do the thing and, like, learn. And then the next time it's going to be so much easier.
Now, I know that you do several different types of offers, and retreat is just one of them. And these are the offers that have helped you to wake up wealthier. But what was that one moment, Natalie, that you found that, oh my goodness, I am waking up to wealth every single day? Can you take us on that journey, please?
Sure. I think you can be wealthy in so many ways. And so when I first got to Tulum and I had a nest egg and I was working with clients, just not as consistently. And I was just like living life, I was having a great time. And I just, by default of my setting and, like, the life I was living, I felt very, very wealthy, like very abundant. And then it was Q1 of 2021. I decided to invest in myself and, like, didn't implement anything and immediately, like, tripled my income. As one tends to do when they just, like, step into that new evolution. I was like, all right, I'm done playing around in my business. Like, I'm ready to make this, like, I'm ready to really make this a thing. Um and yeah, I think it was just a total energy shift. And at the same time, around the same time, I met my now partner, my current boyfriend, and I was just having a blast once again, but this time in my business as well. And so it was the first time that I just felt so supported by my business in a way that I hadn't really been before, not in that way. And, waking up, I don't know, there were so many factors, but like I loved my apartment. I loved this like gorgeous man who was next to me. Like I loved my clients. And I felt so sustained.
Lovely. Yeah, wonderful. I love it. I love it. Thank you. So we've come to wildcard. So for anybody who's watching or listening for the first time, a wildcard is a portion of the show that even Natalie does not know what the questions are going to be. So I have 5 questions, and all you need to do, Natalie, is choose a number from between 1 and 5, and whatever number you choose, I will ask you the question on that number. So what number would you like?
4.
Question number 4. Aha. Okay, this is a good one, and this is one that is in line with what we're talking about. And it says, I've always found retreats to be such hard work when I think about planning one. What is the best way to simplify it if you are just planning your first retreat?
To simplify, I think, I have so many things running around in my head. I mean, again, when it really be clear on like who it's for and what the solution is. That's like you really need to know that, because from that everything else will stem, including your copy, including your visuals. I think start with people. Like I do a lot of things like kind of soft launching. Like I do love to launch, but I also like to sell things on the back end. And so like if there are people in your network who you think would really just jump at that experience, love that experience, or even know other people who would love it, like reach out to those people first, like and continue to do that through your marketing, and then also I think it could be helpful to collaborate. So I didn't, because I tend to like to be like sort of a lone wolf when it comes to creating. And if there are people in your network who would bring clientele who you would love to partner with, where you have like a good working relationship, as long as you're super, super, super clear with contracts and everything about what expectations are between the two of you, it could be really actually simplifying to collaborate with someone who can assist you in the marketing and assist you in the client attraction and things like that.
I love that. So I wrote down 3 things. Number 1, know who it's for. Secondly, go to your network, which I really like. As a starting point, go to the people who you think might already be interested in being part of the retreat. And then finally, collaborate with people, but be really good with your contract, which I think a lot of people take for granted. They think, I've given you my word, you've given me yours, and we're all good. No, be really good. Have it written down, pen to paper, even if you are friends, right? You'd agree?
Especially if you're friends.
I like that, especially if you are friends, absolutely. And just really, really make sure it works well for the both of you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Natalie. Where can people find you if they want to talk to you some more?
Yes, I think the fastest way to contact me is through my Instagram at Natalie_knows, and that's KNOWS. And if they wanted to find me at my website, it's natalieknowsmagic.com.
Wonderful. Natalie, do you have any sort of free gift or any sort of lead magnet or anything that you can give away so that we can find a little bit more about what you do?
Absolutely. So actually on my website, and I can also provide you links, Pam, I have a branding masterclass that I recorded last year. I have one that's selling as service, which I think people would really, really enjoy. And I also have a really cute quiz on my website that is just finding your business magic and identifying like what is your special, your unique, gift. So.
Wonderful. Please send us a link, and we will be linking below this specific episode. Thank you so, so much. For those of you who are watching or listening, go ahead. When you find Natalie, make sure you let her know that you met her on the Wake to Wealth show with me, your host, Pam Obasa. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Thank you. See you on the next episode. Thank you once again for joining me on this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And before you go, take a look at the pieces of content on the screen right now where we walk you through various strategies to scale your business. So don't go away and jump into any of the cards on the screen right now.